Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to What Ladies Say With Me, episode 3. Can you believe it?
Three.
Can you believe it? We are still here. So we have a great discussion happening tonight. I want to thank everyone who is tuning in. If it is your first time tuning in, thank you, thank you, thank you. So today we are going to open up with something cool. So let's dive into a political moment. What type of connection did we have either with an individual or with the story or whatever it was that stands out to us and that we think about it and it lives in our head rent free. So I am going to pass it to Kirsten to open us up.
Okay. So I was thinking about this today, and I feel like I have a lot of memories, but the first one that I really feel like kind of energized me and got me excited about politics was Barack Obama's 2008 when he won. I remember election night back in the day when you found out who won on election night, but it was like super late at night, maybe like midnight, 1 a.m. I don't even remember. I was 17, so I wasn't able, I was like, um, I was a year away from being able to vote. So I hadn't really had to say, but I just remember like feeling just a sense of like hope and excitement because the last 8 years, the Bush administration had just been so like dark and gloomy and just like, oh my gosh, when is this going to end? And finally, it was ending, and it was like in such a historic way. First black president, which me living in Detroit at the time, that was also very because I never thought that we would see that like ever in my life.
Ever,
So
right? One more time
for
for the person in back. She said ever, in case y'all missed that.
yeah, like yeah, I was like I will die before I see that. So that was just so exciting, and I just remember like I was crying, and it was just such a really cool moment for me. And I hadn't really been like following the campaign or anything, but I just remember that feeling. And then my second one is when I got to see Elizabeth Warren speak in person, and because that's my idol. I'm wearing my "Running for President, That's What Girls Do" shirt tonight because I specifically wanted to mention my girl. So yeah, those are my political standout moments.
Love it, love it. All right, Am, you're up.
I'm glad you mentioned Barack Obama because my first one too has to do with Barack Obama. And also my dad cried that election night. It was like the first time
Aw,
I really like remember seeing my dad cry. His mom had passed um the election prior, literally inauguration day of Bush's second inauguration, and I think he was
yeah.
like thinking of her. She was a teacher in inner city New York school. Like I think he was just like
Oh, that's
she would want to
awesome.
be here for this. But so my first standout memory also includes Barack Obama, but at the time he was a U.S. senator from Illinois. It was 2006. And living in DC, you get to not in DC, living outside DC, you get to go into DC for a bunch of like cool random things that other people across the country don't get to do. And in 2006 was when that whole like Save Darfur movement was going on. Do y'all remember that? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So there was like we had like the bracelets, and there was like a video that went around. There was like it was like this whole movement for
Yeah,
those
it
of
was
you
like
who
a
like
viral video,
maybe
very
yeah,
random.
I you know what? Looking back, it does feel very random. But in
'Cause-
2006, it felt like the biggest problem on the face of the earth.
Mhm.
And so there was a Save Darfur rally on the mall in DC. And my temple sent a bus of people to go to the rally. And I was 12 and I hate crowds. Like, protests are not my thing because I really don't like crowds. I'm always like, there's a huge target on our back, something terrible is going to happen, even from a young age. So I kept
Yeah,
sitting on the grass. Everyone else is standing around me because I was like, I'm going to be on the floor in case anything bad happens.
you were ready.
And Barack Obama, I was ready. Barack Obama gets on stage. There were a bunch of other speakers. I couldn't tell you for the life of me who they were. But Barack Obama gets on stage and he starts giving his remarks. And I look up at my dad and I'm like, who is that talking right now? And he was like, oh, that's Senator Barack Obama from Illinois. And I was like, I think that guy's going to be president one day. And my dad was like, yeah, maybe, like, that would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. In 2006, 12-year-old Emily was like onto something. The way that his voice like commanded this space and how like enthralled everyone was listening to him, it was apparent to even a 12-year-old, like just how powerful of a speaker he was. And so then for that primary for the 2008 election, I was in US history in high school, and we had an assignment to like follow any candidate, Republican or Democrat, through their primary process and like create a report about them. And so I followed Barack Obama. And I actually, instead of making a report, I made it like a scrapbook. I clipped out newspaper articles. I like did this whole thing. I went above and beyond, right?
Wow.
Because that's what I do. That's who I am.
Yeah.
So when Kamala got the nomination, I actually pulled out. That's like one of the few things that I still have from when I was in school was this
Oh.
Barack Obama scrapbook that I made. And so I pulled it. I pulled it out. I pulled it out just this summer, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like what a wild ride we've been on, and
Mm-hmm.
just like,
You had to be
yeah,
there. You had to see it to believe
yeah,
it.
yeah, for sure. And then my second one, real quick, not as long of a story, the balloon drop at the DNC after Kamala finished speaking is hands down one of the coolest moments of my entire life, because all week long, you're looking up and you can see the balloons in the rafters of the arena, and you just like, you know that it's coming. And she's talking, and you're just like so locked in on what she's saying. And like normally, she always ended her speeches right with "When we fight, we win." Everyone knew to expect that, and I think that's what we were like expecting her to say as the balloons drop. But that's not the line that she used. I can't even, for the life of you, tell me what she said, because I was just like, "Oh my god, there are tens of thousands of balloons falling
Right,
from this ceiling right now," and it
right.
was just like everyone was so happy. We're like bopping them in the air, hitting people in the face. It was just like, when else are you ever going to get to do that in life? So that's definitely going with me as we move forward.
I
As
believe it
it
because I
should.
remember seeing it from the TV screen. I was like, that is so dope. I'm jealous. I'm
I felt like Bill Clinton. Remember when Bill Clinton was on stage for Hillary's speech and the balloons started coming down and people were like making fun of him because he was like laughing and patting the balloons, and people were like kind of asking like, is Bill Clinton okay? I get it now because like I have now been in that space. Like you're just amazed by how many balloons there are.
That was so cool. That was so
That's
cool.
so fun.
So I have a very small Barack Obama story. Very, very tiny. Very tiny. I mean, I got to give the disclaimer because it's that tiny, okay? Oh. But I remember when I was working on base, I was going off of my lunch break, so so I went and grabbed my food. I was getting out of the car, and as I was packing my stuff, where I happened to be parked, they had blocked off the road, so only people that could go or utilize that road was the president and all his peoples. And so as I'm getting the soda and the drinks and everything, I see the cars going by me, and I'm too busy, not. I'm like, what's going on? I don't know who that is, but I'm so focused on these daggone McDonald's fries. I'm like, priorities right now. So as soon as
Sure.
I gathered all my stuff, that's when someone was like, "Did you see him?" And I'm like, "See who?" And it was like, I said, "No, don't tell me." At that moment when I was being greedy, that was
You
him.
missed it.
I was like,
Oh.
that was so sad, so sad. That's so sad. That's the end of that, So I have to wait,
Did
but
you
I'm
say
gonna
when you
manifest that.
were
I'm gonna throw it
working
into the
on base?
atmosphere. You said what?
Did you say when you were working on base?
So yeah, I had a job that happened to be on base, and for whatever reason, he was on that station. I don't know for what, because again, I didn't know that was him. I'm over here being greedy.
But you weren't in the military, were you?
No. I just had a job
Oh,
that was
okay. I
on
was
base.
like, okay, sorry. I was like, how in the world did I
Did you
miss
miss that?
that? Okay.
No, but
Sorry,
no.
squirrel brain. Because as soon as you said I was working on base, I'm like, wait, I missed
No.
something significant in her life.
Mm-mm,
So,
mm-mm. Nope. But yeah, so on to my story. So my political moment was for me was meeting Angela Davis. Like it was just like the coolest,
So
coolest
cool.
moment. You what? She smelled like shea butter. Okay, you know what I'm saying? Like it's so just like bring it in, bring it in, bring it in. And so I got to take a picture with her. This was actually during after COVID. So we were still, it was still, you had to wear like a mask, even to like be in spaces like that. I was like, I don't care. Just take me. I want to go see her. I was like, so I went out there and so I saw it. It was like basically like an invite only because, like I said, we were just getting out of that and stuff like that. So it was so cool. She talked the message. It resonated. It filled my cup. It was like floweth over. I was so excited to see her.
Is that the same year when you dressed up like
Yeah.
her for Halloween?
Exactly. It was
Aw.
like, oh my gosh. And
Okay,
so that's why I was so excited.
I'm gonna sound really dumb, but I don't know who that is.
No, you're not. That's a great question. So now you got homework. So Angela Davis was an activist and stuff, and she did just so much for, well, I say for the culture and stuff like that during that time frame with Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and all the great speakers.
Was
of
she
that
a
time.
Black Panther?
She was a part of it, so she did have like the fro, the look, and everything like that. Like she was a soul sister. Okay. Yes. But I was just so excited. As you can see, it still
Now
feels
I
like
remember the Halloween
Yes.
costume.
Yes, it was so cool.
Yes.
Yes, so cool.
Yes.
So that's definitely, as you can tell, that was definitely one of my moments and stuff like that. So,
Aw.
but it was just so cool to not only just because I do Audible. It's so convenient. Just pop in AirPod and just listen to books and stuff. So just hearing her story and what all she's done, and then getting the opportunity to see the person behind who you're hearing about, it was just like full circle. So my second moment, keep it brief, was it was Kamala. I can hands down say that was such a cool moment. Oh my gosh, to just be hearing about somebody in conversations and things like that, and then boom, they're right in front of your face. You're like, what the heck is going on? So cool. So the fact that I was even in this space that she was in, and then we, taking photos, and it was just like, it was so cool. The little girl inside of me was like, yes, let's go. And she's a sister, So I just love that. But those are definitely my highlight moments. But again, thank you guys. I feel like those are all just great stories. It was just something that just all stirred us up, and I just love to hear it. So
Well, listen. Kamala, real quick. Let's give flowers for a second, because
absolutely.
the whole time Hillary was campaigning, people are like talking about her pantsuits and this and that, and they were almost like making fun of it, right? Like it was almost like a joke.
Oh yeah.
Kamala, her whole campaign, I was like watching how they were dressing her, right? Because I knew what they had said about Hillary. And so I'm just like watching. I got so much wardrobe inspo from that woman. Like I literally
That's
have
awesome.
shirts in my closet. I Google reverse image searched. Have you ever done that? I like took a screenshot of Kamala from whatever event she was at, uploaded it into Google image reverse, and I was like, okay, clearly I'm not buying the one she's buying for however much. But then I would find one on Amazon for like $20, and I was like, good enough for me.
No one,
So I
they'll
have
never
my
know.
Kamala
They'll never
inspired.
know.
Yes, that's it. So shout out to Kamala for the inspiration for some of my wardrobe.
Okay, one time. There you go. All right, so let's kick it into our next segment, which is called the briefing room. This time, the lovely Kirsten is going to be taking over and giving us some insight and breaking it down, and then we're going to play a fun game afterwards. All right, Kirsten, let's go.
All right. So I'm definitely really excited about tonight's topic. And if you see me looking at my notes, it is because it is data heavy. So, but I'm really excited about tonight, mostly because I'm a nerd, but also, and most importantly, I'm interested in how Democrats win. And so in this conversation, I'll be real and unfiltered, and I want to put a disclaimer out there that my views are not necessarily those of Emily or Erica. So, but right now, I think that a lot of top Democrats are afraid to speak some hard truths, and we need to stop doing that. And the data supports that voters need Democrats to speak hard truths. So today we're going to dive into a 2024 election retrospective that the Blue Rose Research Group created after conducting 26 million interviews with voters last year. If you're not familiar, Blue Rose Research is a major Democratic consulting firm that specializes in political surveying, data interpretation, and message testing. Their head of data science, David Shore, is widely respected in Democratic circles, and his analysis on political issues carries a lot of weight. So when this report came out, it was a big deal because there's been a lot of debate about why the Democratic Party lost the 2024 election. But what we do know is that the party is losing working class voters, young voters, and our margins among non-white voters are eroding. So let's break it down. The first topic is that we're seeing non-white voters are shifting by ideology, not identity. So the data shows that non-white voters are voting more based on ideology and less by their ethnic group. Here's what that looks like. In 2016, 85% of Black conservatives voted for Hillary. In 2024, that number dropped to 77%. 34% of conservative Hispanics voted for Hillary in 2016, but only 17% did in 2024. 28% of conservative Asians voted for Hillary in 2016, but just 20% did in 2024. Meanwhile, among white conservatives, there was no shift at all between 2016 and 2024. Blue Rose's best estimate is that immigrants went from being a Biden plus 27 group in 2020 to a Trump plus 1 group in 2024. It's a huge shift considering naturalized citizens make up roughly 10% of the electorate. So, I'm going to shoot a question out to you guys. So, do you guys think that this trend is reversible for Democrats, or is this a long-term realignment happening in American politics? Just thoughts.
I'll go first. I think that the pool of voters is just different. I feel like the pool of voters, it's like you got the older generation and then the new generation, and then there's just us in the middle. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like so many is just different. The voting process means difference to certain demographics, you know? And I feel like the younger generation, they're still evolving and they're still trying to learn and navigate politics. And in order to learn, you got to want to even know the information. I don't feel like they care enough to want to know. But then you have the older generation who now life is lifing and we understand how things works. And we're like, okay, this ain't it. Like, you know, I feel like there's just going to be that gap in knowledge that keeps us like, but I do think there's a change. I think we can evolve, but it really comes to, you know, finding that niche, what's going to make people want to care.
I think you're onto something, Erica, because like our parents' generation and older, it's like not a question. You show up and you vote. Whereas our generation, I think we understand the importance of voting, but life gets in the way. It's, you know, not as easy. It's not like top of mind. And then Gen Z, I think they're just like trying to figure it out, right? And their generation as a whole is a group that's like, you're not going to tell me what to do. I'm going to tell myself what to do, right? And like, if I don't like you, I'm not spending the time to go out to vote for you. But I think what you're seeing even more in that data is that less and less voters are caring about policy as they are about like general wellness of life. And I think what we saw in November is that Kamala got blamed for a lot of Joe Biden's flaws because she was his vice president, right? And she came out and had great policy. And as somebody who appreciates policy, was like, okay, great. But at the same time, people were not talking about people were talking about being able to afford a house, but they didn't want to hear that the government was going to give them $25,000 if Kamala was president to help them with the down payment, right? People like the negative, they like to complain, and they had a candidate on the Republican ticket who like fed into that, as opposed to Kamala and Walz giving everybody hope, right? And we hear this a lot, that fear sells. I think Barack Obama is like the only time that somebody won on the concept of hope.
True.
And I mean, Trump is like the best at telling people how terrible everything
Yeah.
is going to be. Like, he hate the man, but he's honest, right? Like he tells it like it is. And I think that resonates with people for better or for worse. And so,
Mm-hmm.
I hear about that immigration status, the immigrants who have become naturalized and how that shift in voting comes. And part of me is like, how? Like you heard how he talked about your people, and you heard about what his administration plans to do for immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, that wasn't the vibe that they were going. Like they were just like that. Like he's honest. He tells it like it is, and so that's where I'm going to go. And I think that that's something that the Democratic Party consistently grapples with is like we want to make everybody feel good. And like that's not the moment that we're in right now.
Right.
No, we're definitely not in a
Mm.
feel good moment.
No.
We're miserable.
Not by any stretch. But that's just where we're at. All right. Well, thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and move to our next section here. So this one is about the youth vote. And I'll be honest, this one hurts. Young voters across all racial and gender groups have become more Republican. Among voters under 26, the only group with majority support for Kamala Harris was women of color. White men, white women, and men of color under 26 all supported Trump at rates above 50%. Because I still consider myself young, and we all met through Young Democrats, this one is a bit of a gut punch for me. Not just a bit of a gut punch, it's a huge gut punch. So, and what I would ask you guys is, do you think this is about economic frustration or is something deeper happening with young people?
I think young people. Oh, you want me go? Or you am?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I think young people, I feel like they don't want to be involved. They're seeing like the mom and dad fight. They're like, like, okay, y'all can have it. I'm gonna sit this fun out when y'all are ready to, work things out. When y'all are good, call me. I'll come back. I'll get involved. But I just feel like what we are showing them, what do they want to come, leave their house for? Like we look crazy out here in these streets, and that's just real talk on both
Yeah.
parties. I can't just isolate say this one is doing no, this one is over here doing some wild stuff too. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
crazy and stuff. And I also feel like because the young aren't, they're still processing and they're still learning and they're still growing, and it's like that's why they're also like, well, it doesn't carry, again, what from the previous question, it doesn't carry that much responsibility. They're like, it'll happen again in 4 years, I'll vote then. It'll happen again in 2 years, I'll vote then. You know what I'm saying? It's just like there isn't much sense of urgency to be involved. They're trying to figure out day by day, and they're like, nah, I'm good.
I think it comes down to what Erica said, but also they're like, I didn't make this mess. So, like, why is it my job to clean it up? Right? Like, they don't want to bear the responsibility of the older generations when, like, I'm going to be straight. And my parents say it to me all the time. Like, the boomers are the ones who got us in this situation. So, like, that Gen Z is like, why would I do that? And I don't
Yeah.
blame them for feeling that way, right? Like I can't fault them. And I remember as the early voting results were coming in November, I was checking them in the database just to kind of get a sense of where our local races were at and try to see where we needed to focus energy and where was the best use of our resources, right? Because we are so limited in resources here. And the amount of young voters, period, whether they were a likely Democrat or a likely Republican in this state, is incredibly low. I mean, like
Mm.
we hear about Gen Z movements in Florida or in, North Carolina with Anderson Clayton, right? Georgia. We hear about places and pockets where they've activated Gen Z. But here in South Carolina, and I don't know if it's because like the Myrtle Beach area and my area are both so retirement heavy and focused, and the upstate is a lot of working families, right? Like people are coming for jobs, that there's just not a
Yeah.
lot of Gen Z. If what Gen Z we have is going out of state for college, I don't know what it is, but it was both parties. It was abysmal how few people were showing up to vote in that 26 and under category that we have. And I was just like, this is a problem. I don't know what the solution is, but like, this is not going to sustain us.
Yeah. And I think like a big issue that I've seen is that people don't trust government and don't believe that government is going to make a difference in their life. So like why would I go spend my time, go stand in line and vote if it doesn't really matter? And then like if you look at, young people becoming more Republican, they look at somebody like, or they might look at somebody like Trump and be like, this system we've got right now is a mess. Like, it's already not working for me. Like, this guy, and it goes back to what you're saying before, like, says some things that people, feel like they want to hear. And he promises to disrupt the system, and people don't realize that disruption is bad. But when things aren't working out for you, you're like, any disruption at this point, like, let's try it.
Yeah. And I feel like people didn't see themselves in Kamala. Like, she was seen as like this elitist woman.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I love her. Don't get me wrong. If I could go sit and have a coffee with her and talk with her, it would be hours and hours. But I don't think that was like the general vibe. Like, I don't think Gen Z was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, I relate to her, or I can tell that she like knows my struggle or knows my life, right? Because I mean, she was a lawyer in California, right? I mean, she talked about growing up with two immigrant parents. She told that story, but if you're not tuned in the way that the three of us are tuned in, were you getting that story, or were you just seeing this well polished, put together woman who didn't let this bully of a man get her down and say, like, that's not really relatable?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, like, when you talk about being relatable, so many politicians are ridiculously old. And so when you're young,
She said ridiculously. Hold on, pause. I just want to
out
make
of
sure.
control, old.
We ain't just
Like,
gonna like just pass over,
old to be in government. Okay.
Old, like
My
could
husband,
not stand for 24 hours the way that
Yeah.
Cory Booker did. Old,
Hey, you threw out ridiculous. Like, okay.
yeah,
old.
Yeah.
yeah. So, they're like, these people, when they were growing up, a house was $20,000 and college was like $500.
Unrelatable.
Yes. So I think that could, be, I think there's a lot of factors that go into the
One
youth.
last point I want to make on that is that, like, politicians aren't showing up for the youth, right? Like, they're not coming to your door and saying, like, hey, how can I help you with your student debt? How can I help you, have childcare so that you can be a working mom and go to school at night, right? Like, they're not coming to the young voters. So why would the young voters come to them?
I had a politician come to my door wanting my vote, but when I opened up the door, it was the door knocker who was standing there, and he was standing behind him, but he was standing behind him just scrolling on his phone while
Stop, 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 stop.
she
Oh my
gave
God.
the pitch. And I was looking like, are you running or is he running? And
Right.
she was like, I'm like, man, oh no, you got to go. Like, wrap it up. I 10 by 10. Goodbye.
You're like, I'll
what
vote
is
for the
this?
door knocker.
Like, what is this?
What the? Oh
Like,
my
and
God.
yeah, so she was just giving me a pitch, and I was like, "What? No, I will absolutely not vote for him. Like, what is this? Like,
And see,
no."
there are so many people that when I was knocking their doors, they were like, the fact that you took the time to come knock on my door and personally ask me for my vote, you got it, because nobody has ever done that before. And I'm like, first off, that's a problem. Nobody's ever done that before.
Right.
But two, like, I'm glad that you appreciate that on a Saturday afternoon, I could be doing anything else, but here I am pounding the pavement. And I think people like lose that when they're, I don't know if 2020, like an election and COVID took that away from us, but like that direct face to face voter contact field plan, like we got to get back to that. And I know it's hard for like a presidential candidate to go knocking on everybody's doors, but that's what these state parties and coordinated campaigns and all of that is for, right? So like down ballot candidates can knock on the door in their district and say, oh, also, did you know Kamala Harris was running for president? Here's some information on her too. Because she's not going to be able to get to every door. The congressional candidate isn't going to be able to get to every door. The gubernatorial candidate can't get to every door, but these local candidates can, but they have to do the work and spend the time. And I don't know that that's happening either.
No. Okay. So moving along. So our next section is about Democrats became unpopular. And here's what's wild. Trump was just as unpopular in 2024 as he was in 2020, maybe even more unpopular in 2024. But what changed? Biden had a net favorability of +6 in 2020, while Harris had a net favorability of -6 in 2024. The Biden administration's approval rating plummeted after Afghanistan, inflation, immigration, and budget fights, and never recovered. So my question to you guys on this one is, the Biden administration was unpopular for most of its term. Do you think there was ever a moment where they could have turned things around?
No. I think the biggest mistake that the Democratic Party made in 2024 is that we just put the crown on Biden's head and said, you want to run again, we'll let you run again. Not that a sitting incumbent president doesn't have that right. I think he does. But I was also of the understanding, and I know I'm not the only one, and he kept saying, oh, I never said that. But I was of the understanding in 2020 that he was not going to run in 2024. That was my understanding the whole time, was that he intended to be a one-term president and pass the torch seemingly to Kamala, right? Like that's how it felt. And so when he announced that he was running for re-election, I was a little shocked and a little concerned, just because age is a factor, right? Not because I didn't think he was doing a good job. I thought he was probably the most progressive president of my lifetime because of the policy changes of his administration. But I was just shocked because I was of the understanding that he wasn't going to do that. And so when he said that, I think it just kind of set everything off. Nobody was going to be the person who was going to run against him. I mean, Dean Phillips tried. We saw how that turned out. RFK Jr. tried, and look at him now, right? Like, we didn't have a serious primary process. And for better or for worse, the Democratic Party told those of us associated with the state Democratic Party, like, Biden's your guy. Like, it was not a conversation. We were not allowed to. I almost forgot Marianne Williamson. I'm so sorry, Marianne, if you're listening. She also tried to run for president. But again, it was nobody that we could take seriously that I was going to invest a vote in. Like, I was going to vote for Joe Biden in the presidential primary because, like, what else was I going to do? And I think a lot of the problems that Kamala had was because she had such a short runway to run that campaign. I think if we knew from the start that Joe Biden wasn't going to run, and he could start passing that torch, and we could have had a proper primary, not a 16-person primary, but maybe a 3 or 4 serious candidate primary where people really got to work through some of those policy things. I think it would have made a huge difference. And I just think we were set up from failure from the start on that one.
I was concerned when Biden kept falling. I said, if he falls, well, I swear to God, I swear, I will pull up. Hey, share your address. I just try to see something real quick. I just need to see something real quick. I said if he falls over time, so. But that's my 2 cents on that part.
And they would point it out every time.
Debate. Every time.
Yeah.
Okay, but where are they pointing it out right now? They're not. But that night of the debate, what was that, like June 27th? I feel like I'll never forget it because I was sitting right here. I was streaming it on my computer. I was live tweeting for the state party. I had to like put on my comms hat and be like, how do you spin this? Like, this is the, like, just from the second,
right?
From the second he walked on stage, it was just like, and then I had to get on we were doing a live podcast recording for the arena at the time. And we were like in this group chat, like, guys, do we do this? Do we pull the plug on this? Because like, what do we even say? That honest to God, I mean, that June 27th debate changed everything.
It was awkward. It was awkward.
It was so bad.
It was
so
no
awkward.
recovering. Yeah, that was, I could still literally feel myself cringing. Like, just, it's just
People
still
in
is
swing
like, ooh,
states. I had people in swing states who should be Dem voters texting me, like, I don't know that I can do this. And I was just like, oh, we are in serious trouble.
yeah, yeah. That was, so, um, moving on from that. So now we're talking about what issues do voters actually care about. So Blue Rose Research asked voters to rank the importance of issues. And what they did was on ones they would they took 6 or 7 issues and asked them, is this issue or the cost of living and inflation more important to you? So, like, the issues were student debt, LGBTQ issues, race relations, income inequality, voting rights, climate change, abortion, and immigration. So, some really heavy topics.
Hmm.
And in all of those cases, 8 or 9 out of 10 people said that cost of living and inflation was more important to them than those um, other issues. So, and student debt and LGBTQ issues were the top 2 where the most people said they preferred, or that cost of living was most important to them. So that's and not shocking to me, but just really eye opening. And then another thing that they asked voters what is more important or what matters more to them was, is preserving America's institutions or delivering change that improves people's lives more important to you? And 78% chose delivering change. So it goes back to people looking for that shakeup. Only 12, or I can't do math, only 22% said that preserving America's institutions was most important. So people looking for that change. And so, kind of like on a personal note on this issue, people are struggling, and cost of living is definitely the number one issue. And I get it. I'll be real with you. I live paycheck to paycheck. My husband and I have good jobs. We don't live extravagantly. We still struggle. So, yes, abortion and climate change matter to me so much. But what's always at the front of my mind is how we're going to afford groceries. And that's the reality for millions of Americans. And I think Democrats need to focus on that more, because you can take all of those other issues that they compared them to and frame it in a cost of living or inflation economic message, because they all are in some way.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's about that messaging piece. And so, if we talk about messaging for a second, because I think this is where Democrats are really struggling. Voters overwhelmingly said their top issue was cost of living and inflation, but the Democratic message was all about preserving democracy. Do you think that was a huge strategic mistake? It's a
Well,
heavy
I just want to
question.
say, first of all, none of that is surprising to me because people care first and foremost about themselves, right? As a society, if something is personally impacting you, you are going to care more about it than if it's this abstract concept in the sky. All of those issues are important to me. I also think I'm the oddball out. I don't mean like between the three of us, but I mean like in society that like I'm more of an empathetic voter than I am a personal voter. I think I'm in the majority on that. I know I'm in the majority on that. My husband and I have conversations about that all the time. But the question of messaging and all of these issues, I think, is so important because you see AOC and Bernie out there right now drawing tens of thousands of people. People have this perception of the two of them that they are just like this socialist, pie in the sky, almost like communist mindset, right? And it's used as a negative. There are absolutely ways to take the messaging of what they're saying and apply it in a way that meets a more moderate voter. And that's
Mhm.
what's not happening, right? We're not the everyday person does care about the affordability of their health care. That goes back into cost of living. Childcare goes back into cost of living. It's all based on messaging. People have said time and time again, the Democratic Party messaging sucks. Like, even Kamala, again, love you, girl, but like she kept talking about this opportunity economy. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean?
Mhm.
Right? And like, if I don't understand what that means, a lot of other people don't understand what that means. So again, we're at the point where it is more about what are you doing for me? How are things going to change? How can we move off of the chart that we've been on and do something different? And I do think that that's what Donald Trump in 2016 initially had for him, was that he was this outsider, right? People saw him as a successful businessman. Well, if he could do it, I could do it, right? I don't know that that's so much the vibe anymore. I think people just like that he's a disruptor.
Mhm.
But like Hillary Clinton was an institutionalist, right? Like she and her
Mhm.
husband, for better or for worse, right? Like that wasn't how people thought their lives were going to change for the better, because they had already been leaders, and look where that got them, right? I'm honestly surprised that it worked for Joe Biden, because he was Barack Obama's vice president, right? I thought there was a
Yeah.
chance that people were going to say, "Oh, you've also been in the Senate for like 60 freaking years. You're not, you know." And so I think that people are looking for something different. I think that's why we're seeing right now this fight or flight mode from the Democratic Party. And you're seeing people pissed off at Chuck Schumer
Mhm.
because he's not doing anything. And then you see people like Cory Booker, who is holding the floor for 25 hours, is getting
Mhm.
media attention in a way that the Democrats haven't been getting media attention. You see AOC and Bernie getting 35,000 people on a random day in Colorado, right? There are people who are doing things, but there's not enough people who are doing things to shake it up. And then we have a president who's sitting here putting tariffs on
Oh my gosh.
everybody but Russia.
And Tesla's in the front yard.
Yeah.
Tesla's in the front yard. He put a tariff on a
Paris and
country
Teslas.
that is only inhabited by penguins. Explain to me like I'm five. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I'm not a person who understands economics really well, but I understand that a tariff is something that I am going to pay at the grocery store. And this man is up there talking about, oh, groceries. It's an older term. People used to
Yeah.
go to the store and fill a bag. And I'm like, where do you think I go 3 times a week? What do you think I call those things? Like, that's a grocery store. I'm putting groceries in a, like, what? He's so out of touch that I'm just like,
Mhm.
I don't know. I think this moment specifically of him with the tariffs is hopefully a linchpin moment for people to kind of turn around and say, oh, he said he was going to reduce my cost of eggs, and now I'm paying 3 times as much for my strawberries or my gasoline or my whatever, right? I think once people start to feel that personal effect in their pocket, he's going to get the shit end of the stick. And it's about time, because he's been telling us that this is what he's going to do. And people were just like, well, he's a disruptor. I like him. And they didn't take him at his word. And now here he is doing it. So
Mhm.
Democratic, that was a really long answer, but Democratic messaging sucks. There's a way to make all of these issues tie in together in a way that's not like Bernie Sanders, AOC, socialist, like non-starters for people, but also people only care about what is directly in front of them, impacting them personally in that moment. So it's a mix of all of those things for me.
I think that people I think that the inflation is the common denominator because it affects all of our pockets. That is the one thing that the netto, when you play with that, no, we gotta have some conversation. Come to my office, come sit down. Now we got to talk. I was good, I was calm, but now
Mhm.
that you mess with my pockets, now we got a problem. And I feel like that's it. So it makes sense that inflation, out of all the topics, that is a common thing because that is what it doesn't care about your race, it doesn't care about your gender, it doesn't care about any of that. It's like, no, this is going to affect us all. And I think just like what Emma said, like a lot of these issues aren't affecting all demographics. Like, if you're not a minority, you're probably not going to experience certain things that you were fighting for, things like that. Or if you're with the LGBTQ family, and you're not going to experience certain things that they deal with. So I feel like the money thing is what is going to get everyone having conversations, everyone getting out their house, everyone with the everyone just being involved and stuff like that. So that
Staying in their house because they can't afford to go anywhere.
it's that part too.
Mm.
So I feel like Trump, he sells the dreams. He just sells, like he puts little
Yeah.
breadcrumbs in, and the people just like no 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 eat it up and stuff like that. And then once it shit hits the fan, they're like whoa 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 whoa, like no no whoa, because he told you from the beginning what his plan was, and you just nibbled nibbled
Right.
nibbled nibbled, nibbled and now
Right.
look at you, now look at you, now go sit down, like get out my face.
And it's not like he said, "Oh, if you voted for me, you're not getting the tariffs." Right? Like
Mhm.
Democrats and
Everybody.
Yeah,
Republicans are
pretty
getting the
much.
tariffs. So,
Exactly.
And
Reading
really,
is fundamental. Like, come on, y'all.
yeah. But
It's
that's why the Department of Education needs to go, because
right.
we gotta get them educated people out of here.
y'all
That's gonna
don't even get me started.
that's gonna
Don't
go
even get
over a lot
me.
of people's heads. Yeah, I'm just gonna say that right there. They're gonna miss that, but I received it.
Don't even get me started on that topic.
Uh, um, but yeah, I mean, and what's really unfortunate is a lot of the Trump voters are the people who are going to be impacted by this the most. And so, yeah, should be interesting to see how that plays out. But anyway, so moving on. So let's go. Where do we go from here? So if we're looking big picture, if Democrats do nothing and just keep doing what they're doing, what happens in 2028?
The base isn't going to show up. Like people who have been true Democrats from the start are pissed off right now. They want to
Yeah.
see a fight. The fight is not happening. They're like, why are you laying down and taking this? Like, this is not what I elected you to do. And we always talk about like, oh, how do we bring out the swing voters or how do we get the independents to vote Democrat? It's not going to matter if your strongest Democrats stay home. And I'm telling you right now, unless things change, the base is staying home.
What's that phrase like? What is it called when you keep repeating the same thing over and over and getting the same results? Like,
Insanity.
it's called American. It's called an American. Because what? I know.
Oh my goodness.
I just feel like I know we is not in what? Hello, people. Like, come on. Like, why are we here? It's 2025. Like, it feels like it's something else. Like, no, we should not be here. It's like, come on. Like, bring it in. Like, unplug it, plug it back in. I don't know, dust it off. Old school. Like, what is going on? This is a weird times, man. But I don't like it, and I feel like other people shouldn't like it either. I feel like we all need to be on the same page, even if we're not in the same political party. At the end of the day, we all got to eat. We all need a seat at the table. We all need to be part of the conversation, part of the dialogue, part of the choices and the decisions. Like, if you want to be a Republican, go be the best Republican. If you want to be a Democrat, go be the best Democrat. Just at the end of the day, we all got to be at this table making choices, because we all gonna be affected. These, like you said, the tariffs. Like, don't nobody care about no daggone Tesla. I care about eggs and bread, cheese, milk. Hello, somebody. Like, get out my face. Like, I could care less. But I
Right.
definitely feel like we gotta do something. We gotta do something, because the fact that we're even losing votes to Republicans, it's like whoa, 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 whoa. Like, what? No, no, no. We ain't doing that, because no.
Yeah. All right. Well, now I'm gonna end with something that I think is kind of a fun question, but goes back to that 2028. And if you guys don't want to answer this, you don't have to. But if you could choose and like this would be a real person, if you could choose your ideal candidate for 2028, who would you pick for the presidential ticket?
This is a tough question.
I know mine. I'll share mine.
Well, I know who I want to say, but I also have seen what history has done to female candidates. So like I
Yeah.
don't, you know what I mean? So it's like do I say
Mm,
like a white man who I think could
White
could be
savior
pretty
is gonna
progressive?
come in on a horse,
Right. Like because
like
like
save
do I want
the
to
day.
do I want to pick right? Do I want to pick the person who's going to win and put us back on track the way that I think we should be going, or do I
uh,
say like I don't know how to answer this question. I know what my
ooh.
answer is, but I don't know. Like if it's a
Yeah.
white man, I think it's like a JB Pritzker, or you get Tim Walz back out there. I think those are like the two obvious white men. But they're both, I mean, they both leave a lot to be desired, just
Yeah,
like
they're boring.
correct. But if I want to pick like my ideal candidate who would probably not win, it would be AOC. I think the way that
Mm,
she's able to craft a message in a way that's relatable, in a way that is short, quick, to the point. Like she is pointed, she's honest, she doesn't take any shit from anybody. She's not afraid of a fight, she doesn't back down from a fight. And I think her policy is really, really strong, right? Like both of those things are important to me as a voter, but if you have a voter who cares about policy or you have a voter who cares about messaging, I think she hits both of those things. Plus, she's young and refreshing, and I
mm-hmm,
think that we need that.
mm-hmm.
But I don't know that America is ready for somebody like her. I love a Pete Buttigieg, but again, I don't know if we're ready for an openly gay man to be president. Those are just like names that I think about on a regular basis.
Yep. You want to share one, Erica, or you want me to go?
You can go. I'm over here. Let me cook. Let me cook. Let me think. Let me think. Okay.
So I had my answer ready to go, and then Emily got me off track with
Can
her.
I
Like,
guess? Can I guess who you're going to say?
I think, yeah, you probably
Her
know.
cat. Her
Is it?
cat.
Is it? No. Is it going to be Big Gretch?
It sure is, my girl, Gretchen Whitmer. Absolutely, I would freak out. I just like love her. I think she's very real, very authentic. She's young. She's done so many amazing things in Michigan. Now, granted, she's had a Democratic trifecta, so that doesn't hurt. But they've gotten things done. And that's so lacking in so much of politics these days. And like things that matter to everyday people too, like raising the minimum wage. She's fixed the damn roads, which was her campaign promise. I mean, there's always construction in Michigan, but she's working towards solutions, and yeah, so that I would be over the moon. But
I have a real quick Gretchen Whitmer story while Erica's still
good.
thinking about her answer. At the DNC, so because South Carolina is allegedly going to be the first in the nation presidential primary, right? Even though we're a red state, we got big names to come to breakfast because they
Mm-hmm.
want us to start talking about them and inviting them to things. So Gretchen was at one of our breakfasts.
So
Mind
jealous.
you, she's the only female speaker elected official that we have all week, right? We got Cory
Wow.
Booker, we got Josh Shapiro, we got all these people, and then we got Gretchen. And after every elected official was done speaking, there would be a bum rush to the door to try to get pictures with them, right?
I imagine.
Gretchen's staff was brilliant. It's clear that women are just more organized and get shit done in a more effective way. Her team, first off, she's wearing bright pink and they're wearing bright pink. So like, you know who's who, what's what, right? And so her staff come out maybe 2 or 3 minutes before she's finishing up what she's going to say. And she's like, if you want a picture with the governor, you're going to stand in a straight line, shoulder to shoulder. And what happened was, so we're standing shoulder to shoulder. Gretchen comes behind us. We take our selfie and she keeps going down the line. As opposed to
That's
all of the
awesome.
men have this single file line. We go, we stand next to them. Somebody takes the picture, whatever. This was the most effective photo line I've ever experienced in my life. Gretchen Whitmer, you
There you
have
go.
my vote just for that.
Yep.
It
Shows what she can get
doesn't
done.
take much, Gretchen. Trust me.
It was effective. I'm here for the effective.
Don't let her hype you up. So my two people, and I know it's a long shot, but if they ever listen to this, go for it. Is I want Michelle Obama. Listen, oh my gosh, I don't care. Every time someone says, "Who's your favorite president?" I'm like, Michelle. Michelle is my favorite.
Yeah.
And then
I think a lot of people agree with that.
Okay,
Yeah.
like what? I can't remember anything outside of her. Like what? Nothing else ever existed prior to her. My second person, another long shot. I would love Stacey Abrams to like You know what I'm saying? Make a comeback. I feel like we need to give her flowers. She does so much. But if she ever decides to, she got my vote too. I will come door knock, girl. You let me know. Put me on your calendar. Put me on your schedule, girl.
That's how I
Yes.
feel about Gretch.
Those are my two people.
Michelle Obama can command a room in a way I've never seen anybody else
I
do.
bet she also smells like shea butter. You know what I'm saying? I bet it's like the best. Like what? Old Sheen shea
Even
butter, all that.
even my husband, who hates everything about politics, would be so excited to see that happen. So maybe, that's onto something there, because if you can get the apathetic people like him who hate politics, just saying.
She also hates politics, and I think that's relatable.
True, true. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for sharing your ideal candidate. I don't know why I think that's fun, but I do. And so that's going to wrap up my segment for the briefing room. And I appreciate you guys sharing your insights and indulging me in a little bit of a data dive. So,
Is it
yeah,
that time, Kirsten? Is it
it's
that
that time.
time?
It sure
No,
is.
Let me get my pen ready.
Emily, go grab your tissue box. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to embarrass you in front of the people.
Listen, you're talking a
Whoa,
big game. You
whoa.
better be able to back it up.
Listen, I got to give the people what they want, okay? And they want
You
this
better be.
now.
Ooh,
Don't write a check that your tush can't cash. Let's go.
I hope this is a tough one.
I'm ready.
All right, so now it is time for Two Truths and a Lie, and we are going to also be hosted on this segment by the lovely Kirsten. I am so excited, Kirsten. I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay. So, number one, between 2008 and 2024, Democrats lost almost 45% of working class voters. Number two, Trump's single biggest gain in 2024 over 2020 was among white evangelical women with college degrees.
Can you repeat that?
Yes. So Trump's single biggest gain in 2024 over 2020 was among white evangelical women with college degrees.
Okay.
And number three, Kamala Harris beat Trump among union workers 57% to 41%. Do you need me to repeat
I
any
know.
of them?
I think I know.
I refuse to believe that any Trump supporters are educated. It don't matter if they white, black, polka dots, glitter, and gold. I refuse to believe anybody that is supporting that fool is educated. So I know that can't be the answer. So repeat A one more time.
Between 2008 and 2024, Democrats lost almost 45% of working class voters.
That one sounds kind of tangible.
It seems a little high, but I know the last one. I know Union strong. They liked Joe. They liked Kamala. Number three is off the table for
I
me.
say A. I already picked A because I feel like you tried to go with the same one as B. So I feel like let me go ahead and throw it out that I said first.
So you're going with A.
I think that A, because I don't think it's B. Ain't no way that these educated people are out here.
We're trying to find the lie. So yeah, I think
So you
white
think so?
women college educated was like the most democratic of the white female group. So I imagine that even evangelical women, if they had a college degree, did not give more of their vote to that man. So I'm going with B.
Dang it, that's why we are trying to find the false statement. All right, you pinned me in a corner.
You forgot what we were playing. You forgot the name of the game. Two truths and a lie.
All right,
You
cut.
talked a big game.
We need to cut this scene real quick.
No, you talked a big game and then messed up your own game.
We need to edit this part, okay?
The funny thing is going to be that Kirsten's going to be like, "Well, Erica, you're right." So it's like,
Hey, y'all heard it here first, okay? As long as y'all know how the plan happened. It was executed. You know what I'm saying?
All right,
Okay.
Kristen, lay it on us.
All right, yeah. What is
But
it?
wait. Which one?
I'm
So
gonna say
wait,
A. I'm saying
you guys are both saying A?
No, I said B.
Okay. So Erica got the lie. So
What did I just say?
So the only reason it's a lie
Nope, I'm
is
about
the
to log
number.
I'm about to log off.
that's hilarious.
Instead
I
of
did say 45% felt high,
Has no
but
one cares. You're a loser. Hush up. Hush up. That's all the people care about. You lost.
you're right. That is all that people care about.
so
That's how we got here in the first place.
Oh gosh.
instead of it being that between 2008 and 2024 Democrats lost almost 45% of working class voters, it's 30. So they lost almost 30% of working class voters. So
The little
45
things.
was too high.
Little details.
I quit.
But it is hard to believe that anybody with a college degree,
Seriously.
and especially give the biggest gain in voters. But these
Yeah, I know that
evangelical,
evangelical women
I'm an
feel some
evangelical
kind
too.
of way, but I thought evangelical women with college degrees would at least use some critical thinking skills.
Hello, somebody. Cognitive skills. I don't know.
Yep.
Should I spell it out? Like,
Because
what is happening?
I'm a white evangelical woman with a college degree, and I did not vote for him. So take that as you will. But
I'm so disappointed for so many reasons.
Next time,
I'm
champ.
sorry.
Next time, you know.
No, next time I get to do 2 truths and a lie.
Oh
so I
yeah,
don't
that's
even
right.
get it.
That's right. Oh, she was
yeah.
spicy.
And I'll win.
You're not nice when you lose.
I'll win next time. Don't worry.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. We ended it on such a high note. Thank you, ladies. Again, always.
Such a high note because Erica won.
You heard it here first. You see what they do when they lose the interruptions? They just mess up a thought. But thank you. Thank you guys for just joining in. Until next time. Peace out, ladies.
This is Kirsten Pruitt. Please subscribe to the show wherever you find podcasts and consider leaving us a rating. You can find links to our social media and YouTube page in the show notes. Thanks again for listening.
The preceding podcast is solely owned by its host or hosts and is distributed by Big Media LLC. Copyright 2025, all rights reserved.